Why is it so rare that we stumble upon educational environments that truly encourage kids to care about learning? What I think is so special about LCM is that it teaches you to care about the what in world issues as much as about the why.
Welcome to our third House of Commons debate. You have all been arranged by government and opposition plus minority parties, and the purpose of this debate is to get the ideas out. Okay? Tomorrow, once these ideas are out and clear and we get a feel for how the House feels about each bill, you guys are going to be amending these bills in your committees and your subcommittees. On Sunday, we are finally going to be approving or disapproving each one of these bills. But we do have a voice vote, okay? So whenever there is a vote, for example, all those wishing to close debate on this bill say aye. Aye. All those wishing to not close debate on this bill say nay. Nay. That's how it goes, okay? I will decide who has it. The House is now in order. Welcome, esteemed members of Parliament. We are going to begin with our debate. Are there any motions on the floor at this time?
Motion to open debate on the Arms Export Controls Countries of Concern Bill 2016 summary.
That is in order.
The Conservative Party believes since the UN is going to put an embargo on Saudi Arabia, we should vote yes on this bill.
I do not feel that it's right that we, the democratic leaders in Europe, should be leeching profit of murder, violence, and misery in a country that we've promised, along with our allies, the United States, to keep safe for democracy.
More than 3 billion pounds of weapons were exported to countries that the Foreign Office has designated as countries that have violated human rights. The list currently stands at 30 countries, and 21 of them have received weapons from the UK.
We will conduct our own investigation, and if we find these abuses, we will stop selling arms. But it is not the time right now to hamper this growing, abundant industry with these new restrictions.
Let's hear a member from Middlesbrough.
We need the revenue, but we don't need it as much as killing other people.
It doesn't matter who's behind the gun, it's still shooting at someone, and this is unacceptable.
We are exporting weapons that will allow conflicts to end.
All those wishing to close debate, please say aye.
Aye!
All those against closure of debate, please say nay.
Nay!
By discretion of the chair, the ayes have it. We are going to have a 5-minute unmoderated until our next bill.
Freezing assets can also lead to impacting the citizens of countries, and those citizens didn't necessarily approve of what their government did.
You should provide compensation for people whose lives have been greatly affected by these horrible acts.
We just need to put our own citizens before citizens of other countries.
I would like to ask, haven't these countries stolen our people, which is the most valuable part of our country?
If we freeze the assets of the actual terrorist organizations, not the states that claim to sponsor terrorism, we would have much better effects.
That you cannot just simply take money from a terrorist organization. They don't have a bank, they don't have a building where they keep all of their assets.
Terrorist groups and state sponsors of terrorism do have assets within the UK financial sector, which we as the UK government have the authority to freeze and use for our own purposes.
They won't have to travel to Greece, Egypt, and Iraq to see all of these artifacts from these places. They'll only have to go to one place.
That doesn't mean that we should keep them, and we should get these Parthenon sculptures and reunite them with the other half of them that are in Greece to respect their historical context.
The delegate from Livingston speaks for the whole Scottish people. Because we have had our artifacts stolen from Scotland, because we have been oppressed by the British, all artifacts taken by the British must be returned.
It's a part of their history, it's part of their culture.
We have kept them perfectly safe here in the UK, and they provide much for our citizens to see about different cultures and learn.
When you transported the Elgin marbles to Britain, you damaged them severely, and the Parthenon as well.
We understand that Greece is in a desperate financial situation, so maybe some of the proceeds or donations that go to the marbles could be given to Greece.
These marbles were legitimately removed. The legal document was signed in 1801 by the Sultan Selim III, and a copy of it is currently in the British Museum.
We own these marbles. They are ours. They cannot be taken from us.
We want to recognize that threats such as ISIS are going through areas and destroying old Buddhist artifacts, old Christian artifacts, and practically anything that doesn't have to do with Islam. This is awful and definitely should be avoided.
We should not take any cultural property from a country without the government's permission.
This is for the future generations that will not be able to appreciate these artifacts unless they are removed from these countries.
There is no way that an outside country can just decide for the other country that it's okay, that we're doing it for the good of the world. That is not your decision.
It's much more important to preserve our relations with that country.
If some people live in the UK from the EU, or some people live in the EU from the UK, it is not fair to make them switch just because of something that they have nothing to do with.
They came here legally. They are not illegal.
EU will be extremely unfavorable in its tariffs. It will slap them onto all British goods.
So it is only people who have been here for less than 5 years.
We need to stop trying to instill a totalitarian state upon our internet. The internet should be a democracy. I propose that we instill a digital bill of rights so that people know that they cannot just be restricted like this.
It will censor inappropriate content and make the internet virtually a safer place. If a parent wants to restrict the inappropriate content that a minor should to be able to see, that's the parent's choice. That's not the government's choice.
Also recall the United Kingdom, your island, is an island, which basically means that all internet connections that are not within the country can indeed be very easily regulated and controlled.
You simply just can't restrict someone from saying what they believe just because you don't like it. And that's exactly what this bill would do.
Search engines track what you're doing, and then they try to put commercials that would intrigue you for selling purposes. Therefore, many other corporations are already tracking you, so the government monitoring you wouldn't be a lot different.
There are some easy steps that we can do to lessen the amount of people that are living on the streets, such as creating new shelters and making a better mental health care system so people can recover.
Over 50,000 people in the UK suffering from homelessness.
We cannot help anyone if we are forced to enter a state of strict austerity where we have to cut all welfare.
Simply put, homelessness should no longer have a home in the United Kingdom. Thank you.
When 28,000 people are dying because of air pollution, we need to do something about it.
Diesel emissions are causing global warming, and if we do not change that, the world will start falling apart.
Even if we cut carbon emissions to zero right now, our world would still heat to a critical level in which the environment would be so severely affected.
I think we need to come to a compromise where we slowly reduce the diesel, but we increase alternative energy sources such as hydrogen.
Even if other countries aren't treating our citizens fairly, that does not mean we have to descend to their level.
Angela Merkel, as well as other countries, have stated that they will not let UK citizens stay in EU countries. If they do not allow this, how can we let the EU citizens stay in our country?
Just because their country of origin released a statement saying that their country would not harbor our citizens does not mean that we should punish these EU immigrants. These people have left their entire lives behind.
These men, women, and children who are EU nationals are already treated as second-class citizens who did not have the ability to vote whether to stay in the EU or not.
It's sort of discriminating to EU citizens, just saying that just because they're from a different place and they do something wrong, it makes them have to get completely kicked out of their country.
We only should not send weapons to countries where either the human rights is severely bad, or we have no idea where the weapons will end up.
We have to come up with a proper system to figure out which countries we should not sell arms trade to.
I have researched the current arms embargoes by different organizations that we could use as a list. The first is by the EU. There are currently 2 countries on this list. The second is by the UN. There are currently roughly 10 countries on this list. However, and then there's also the list of countries with human rights violations by our Secretary of State. That has about 30 countries.
Motion to discuss what list to determine what countries we should not sell weapons to.
That is the biggest. Yes, I think 30 is too big. 30 is too big too.
Although I can see why you guys have the right intentions, because obviously this isn't meant for younger people, but it also just completely tears away whatever right the parents have over their children. The internet is a democracy, and we can't simply just tell people what they can and can't do.
There are already restrictions in place to restrict people's access to online pornography.
And you need to actually call your service provider to give you that access back. It's making sure that it verifies the age of the person so that you make sure your kids aren't watching it.
As we go down the sections, you guys can kind of start making amendments for that specific section.
There should be a way for this committee to find a way to stop children from viewing this content, but that way should not set a precedent that the government can continue to do things like this in the future, that the government can simply go in and begin to regulate the internet and what our citizens can and cannot see. These are exactly the values that we are working not to support around the world.
It does not ask countries for consent to enter, therefore violating their sovereignty. It uses the military, which we are strongly opposed to. And I'm surprised at the fact we're arguing over how many military personnel to put in there when we don't want any.
All in favor of Amendment 1.0 as it stands right now, please raise your placards. Yes. Guys, as long as you don't vote, it fails by 1. Wait, if you are in favor of Amendment 1.1, as it stands at this moment. All those abstaining? This passes. Thank you everyone for a very exciting voting procedure.
Are we all okay with a number? That's like the new goal we need to set.
I'll disclose my number at 14%, but there are areas with 49%. So it is unrealistic, as one of my delegates from the Labour Party said, set one number for entire Britain, because that's neither fair nor accurate.
According to recent studies, there's over 3,000 homeless people in Great Britain. We can't expect to do all this overnight. It'll take a lot of time and a lot of resources.
There's something about the Children Act of 1989, and so they will be provided with care services, which may also include education.
Homelessness is not like a lifestyle that people choose to have. Homelessness is something that you are forced into.
And therefore, I propose an amendment that calls upon the local council to provide financial and mental counseling within the 56 day of support.
And provide people with basic needs during the 56-day waiting period. All those in favor say aye. Aye! All those opposed say nay.
Nay!
That passes.
Maybe only a few actual pieces will be given, maybe the ones in best condition, however most of them will be cast pieces.
Financial aid does not make up for the fact that you don't have part of your heritage in your own country.
You can't simply just give it to them back for free. That's not how markets work. That's not how the economy works.
The reason we included this financial aid part was actually to compromise with you guys.
December 1st, 2017, instead of on that day. It should be in between that time period the statutes have to be transferred.
It must be very hard to complete everything in 1 year.
That's really the issue here.
is these, not so much the data itself getting out, but more these profiles that they make of customers getting out. Should companies be allowed to trade them and sell them to people?
And I respect that the Labour Party doesn't want people's personal information to get out. Therefore, I now agree with the delegate of Islington North in saying that certain standards should be set for the type of entities that you sell your data to.
Amendment 5.0. People need to have the ability to prevent companies from tracking their orders in major companies.
All those in favor?
Aye! All those against?
Nay!
Nays have it. Oh my God. Clause 1 makes disabling and or removing anti-pollution devices a felony. All those for?
Guys, come on, guys.
No, bro. All those against this? Ayes have it.
The government of the UK will pay to create casts of the Parthenon sculptures not being returned to Greece.
Questions?
You said that you'd give back 2/3. Does that mean 2/3 of all, like the sculptures as a whole, or just 2/3 of our sculptures?
Yeah.
It
doesn't matter if it's in a bad financial position because the museum is taking care of the statues. But it's not Greece who is paying for them. We're not
House is now in session. Welcome everyone. We're going to have timed debates on each bill. This will be the final chance for this bill to either pass to the next stage or be voted down. And for these final approval of bills, we can use placard votes. But if it's a fairly clear acclamation, then we will not need a placard vote at all.
We have decided through the committee to use the UN required arms export embargo list.
The fact that we are able to add and subtract countries the way that we want to puts an element of power that means that in special situations we are able to adapt to fit the needs of the people that we are trying to help in countries that may have UN arms embargoes on them.
We are also not cutting off our arms trade completely, which is an essential part of our economy.
We feel that it is a perfectly acceptable start to working towards a brighter and safer future for the world.
The UN is a very, very smart organization. They know which countries around the world are national security threats, not only for the UK, but for all countries around the globe, and I think that that's definitely something that we should listen to.
So all those wishing to approve the arms export control bill as amended in subcommittees, please say aye. Aye! All those against? Nay. Okay. The ayes have it. This bill, in fact, has been approved by acclamation. We're going to have a 3-minute unmoderated caucus before the next bill.
Victims of terrorism, they need to be compensated. They have not received a single penny.
By cutting off these assets, we are denying support to areas of the government and areas of the population that do not support the terrorism.
But there's also subdivisions in certain cases, such as the ISI, which support and harbor terrorism. These are the divisions whose assets we're going to be seizing.
All those in favor of the Terrorism Asset Freezing and Compensation Bill, please say aye. Aye! All those against? Alright, seeing as that did not work well, we will do a placard vote. All those in favor. We are now in voting procedure. We're not in voting. Please stop talking.
And keep your placards in the air.
All those against?
The ayes have it with a vote of 36 to 31. This bill passes.
It is not exactly common knowledge that that we have purchased this from the Greeks. Not everybody knows this, so many people may be acting under the assumption that we have stolen these statues from Greece.
You bought the statues from a party that was not eligible to sell those statues. You bought the statues from a dictator.
These artifacts are priceless, for it is their history and their culture.
It is very likely that even if we do transport these back to the Greece, they can be destroyed.
They will very likely break. Other artifacts that were sold from other parties, such as this one. Let's think. The crown jewels, should we give those back to India? Is that what you guys are saying?
Yes. Sure. All those for this bill, please say aye. Raise your placards now, keep them high, do not stand up. We want to make sure we can count every single delegate.
All those against?
The chair has an announcement. The nays have it! This bill has not passed!
What we tell Europe by not passing this bill is that we won't allow your citizens to stay. We're going to become hostile to you after we leave, and we don't want to continue a relationship with Europe. None of these things are true.
In early negotiations, Angela Merkel has already stated that she will not let UK citizens reside in her EU nation, Germany. So for this fact, we do need to not pass this bill to ensure that our first priority, the UK citizens, are valued and feel that they are the first priority.
All those in favor of this bill, please say aye. Please say nay. Nay! And with that, the EU citizens resident in the United Kingdom right to stay bill passes.
And now for our final bill of the day and before closure of this session, we are going to begin to debate the Air Quality Diesel Emissions in Urban Centers Bill 2016-2017.
It prevents a user from removing anti-pollution devices from a car.
And I think that it's great to at least test the pedestrian zones.
All those wishing to approve the Air Emissions Quality Bill, please say aye. Aye! All those against? Nay! Clearly the ayes have it. This bill has been passed. This session has been adjourned.
From the beginning moments of Friday morning to the amendments to the closing of all the bills today to the Foreign Affairs Committee debating until almost 7 p.m. last night, I have to say that it was a very intense, in a very good way, debate these last few days.
Because the more research you did, the better you can understand the topics and put your MPs' positions into action. Because you can understand the topic better, which makes it easier for you to raise your placard, get called on, make speeches, and just make the most out of this experience. Even if you don't feel confident, just try and speak. But you really need to think about, how will I talk? How will I express my opinion, express my ideas?
When someone believes something is right, they're going to fight for it. And even if it doesn't agree with other people's perceptions of culture, they will.
Never give up. On one bill, I was outnumbered somewhere around 70-5 on my views, but I still tried to make sure that my views were impressed on more people.
Culture influences so much of what we do, but I think we can also influence the culture in our societies. And I think that's what we got to practice doing here at this conference, is we got to see how people can influence the culture and attitudes of the people around them.
We focused on many important topics, but one that particularly stuck out to me was the child poverty bill. We are so gifted to attend these amazing schools in this program that we often forget how many people don't get those opportunities. If I had to propose a solution for child poverty, I would increase the education system in public schools. Also, I would make sure these kids get the support they need to live happier and more successful lives. No matter who you are, your voice can make a difference. And if Model UN has taught me anything, it is to look farther than myself and advocate for the things I believe in. Thank you.
These controversial issues spark conversations between delegates, providing experiences and discussion that fuel ideas.
Ideas are the ones that spark amendments and bills. Bills then lead to, hopefully, improvement in the world.
One thing I've learned at LCM is that our debates don't last more than a few days, but our friendships definitely do. I have found and seen that treating other students with kindness and respect has become the best tool for making progress.
It's really important to have faith in your peers and delegate tasks as opposed to trying to micromanage everything yourself. Debating, I've learned that blatantly stating facts that may or may not be true is the most effective way for people to believe you. We call it political strategy.
This is what LCM, of course, is all about, and what debate is all about. It's about clashing ideas in search for the truth. And when you want to debate, of course, you have to learn this technique that many of you talked about, which is called persuasion, which is the most important and the most dangerous thing that we can teach. It is how to change people's minds. And you can change people's minds to do wonderful things or quite the opposite. It is important to find the truth and to have the methods to know how to find the truth. And that is something that we are very much pushing for. That we do have to fearlessly question the things that we are told. And that once you find that truth, that you will not be quiet about it. And have a wonderful day.